Hi, I'm Herm Gailey, and I'm here to revisit a subject I've touched on a number of times in the past, bits. And what I'm doing, and I'm going to try to do a number of these, is just reaching up on my rack and pulling out bits, even if I haven't used them in a while, that are interesting, and get a pair of them, sort of compare and contrast, show how they're similar, how they're different, how they work, what type of horse you might use them on. The first bit is an unusual bit that you don't see a whole lot these days. This is also a Ray Mayhew bit. I've had a number of them. It's a shop-made bit, but if you can zero in there, Kim, a bit, this is like a snaffle type mouthpiece, the typical jointed mouthpiece you'd see in a ring snaffle or in what is sort of colloquially referred to as a Western snaffle or an Argentine snaffle. But what's different is it doesn't just have two rings there in the center that pivot on each other, which can to a degree collapse in the horse's mouth. People say it has a nutcracker effect. I wouldn't go that far, but it does not have the same effect as a bit that does not fall in on itself like that. This is a hinge, so that's the difference right there. It has a little bit of play in it, and frankly it's gotten a little more play over many years of use, but it can't collapse. When you have a chin chain on there and you pull back, it's almost, if you had your chin chain real straight, real tight, it would be almost like a straight bar, although it's mulling some. That little curve that conforms to the horse's mouth gives some relief. That's referred to as a mullen. So this has been a useful bit. I haven't been using it as much in recent times, but I had a couple horses that really weren't where I wanted them with that jointed mouthpiece. Didn't really relate that well to a regular curb with a solid mouthpiece. But this sort of split the difference and was a very useful bit. This is called the hinge mouthpiece. Actually, you can have hinges different places. This bit right here also has a hinge, but it has multiple hinges, and it does that. This bit does not move anywhere near as much as that hinge that has multiple hinges on it. Now, to contrast, here is basically the equivalent of an Argentine snaffle, a Western snaffle. It's really a jointed curb, but I'm not going to get too caught up in the terminology. This is a nice bit. It has a solid copper mouthpiece, an exceptionally good joint system here. There's no way it can pinch your horse. There isn't even a joint close to your horse's, the corners of his lips, where he's very sensitive. You're completely isolated from that. But this bit can fall down like that. Does it typically do that? No. In reality, when you take a hold of your horse, that sort of tents up more than falls down. But it still has more of a collapsing effect on the bars, where this bit will not collapse on their bars. It gives you a more uniform pull on the bars of the horse's mouth. This bit, as I said, has a solid copper mouthpiece. This bit here, if you can really zero in, has copper tasters, little lines of copper inlaid there in a mouthpiece that's otherwise sweet iron. This is probably my favorite combination of metals for a mouthpiece. The solid copper, you can't really see it, but this is scarred up by horses' teeth, because just putting it in and out, our horse is getting a little bite on it at some point. Copper's soft. I also think this can induce a little too much salivation, and I've said in other videos, sweet iron always tastes good. I'm not so crazy about copper. Stick a few pennies in your mouth and see how long you keep them there. Stick a steel spoon in your mouth and you're going to be okay. So those are two bits, So I just wanted to quickly touch on them. They both have their place. Of the two, I probably favor the Hinge, but it is a bit more severe in some ways because it does not give as much in the mouthpiece. It becomes more solid when you pull. So those are my two bits for today. We'll be back with more compare and contrast videos like this.